Proverbs chapter 23, verse 27. The Bible tells us, as a man so thinketh he is in his heart, that's who he is. Essentially, if I think of me in a certain way, and about a certain way, that's how I'm going to be. As a man so thinketh in his heart, that's who he is. We truly don't understand that how I think of myself, how that translates into a transformation that God wants to bring about, or the lack thereof. The power of thought. In one way, you can have your thought and understand there's perspective of how God views me and how God sees me and what that is going to go on and produce in my life. You can go with the opposite of what God thinks of you, the world's perspective of you, your negative perspective of yourself, and that's going to carry on through in the opposite way. So what you have here is your thought. And you've got to decide within yourself, am I going to begin with the step in this direction from the perspective of how God views me, or am I going to go in the opposite direction from a perspective in a negative way of how I view myself or how others view me? And then what happens is, if I go in this negative way, then I experience a sabotage spiritual situation. Because I begin to sabotage in my thoughts because I have a negative, an anti-perspective of what God has. And I begin to bring myself down. As opposed to a positive perspective of how God views you. And you know how you look at yourself in view of God and God's perspective? I am redeemed. I am saved. I am cleansed. I am washed. I am a child of God. It just naturally rolls into that. You are affirming who God says you are. You see, the world can say all kinds of things about you. What matters is what God says.